This is Hubie Brown, a legendary figure in the world of basketball. He is a man who has seen it all with his decades of experience being a crucial part of the NBA. But when talking about this basketball player named Jack Molinas, he said that Jack was flat out one of the best players ever. High praise, coming from a basketball mind like Hubie's. But the thing is, most people have probably never even heard of Jack Molinas. His name doesn't ring out like LeBron, Wilt, or Kareem. But in his day, Jack was a phenom, an absolute force of nature on the basketball court. So how did a player with that kind of talent fade into obscurity? How did he go from being one of the best ever to a forgotten footnote in basketball history? Well, the answer is a story that has to be heard to be believed. A tale of soaring highs and devastating lows, of incredible talent and uncontrollable vice. This is the story of Jack Molinas, a man who had the world at his fingertips and lost it all. And in the process, almost destroyed the NBA as we know it. Jack Molinas was born on October 31st, 1931 in Brooklyn, New York. His family owned a bar on Coney Island, and because of it, were a pretty wealthy family. Young Jack had every advantage. He went to great schools, excelled in those schools with a reported IQ of 175, and was blessed with good looks and height, reaching 6'6". At age 12, Jack discovered his two lifelong loves, basketball and gambling. He instantly became obsessed with both. On the basketball court, Jack was an absolute prodigy. Even though he played the forward position, he could handle the basketball like a guard, which was unheard of in the 50s. On top of this, his elite hook shot was nearly unstoppable, and he could consistently make it from 15 feet away from the basket. His combination of skills was remarkable for his time, and many around him believed he had the potential to be one of the greatest players of all time. Molinas took his talents to Columbia University, where he put up historic numbers in his first collegiate season. In one game against Princeton, he scored 41 points, shattering the school record. In a game, Columbia won 81-58. Columbia dominated the season, losing only one regular season game, largely thanks to Molinas' play. Despite a shocking loss in the tournament to Illinois, many still viewed Jack as someone with potential to be an all-time great and expected great things from him in his next few years at Columbia. Trouble for Jack came at the end of his first year at Columbia. After acing all of his exams for the semester, he threw a glass through his dorm window to celebrate. Sadly, this glass hit a Columbia professor's windshield and shattered it, since Jack's dorm was 7 stories up. This professor demanded that Jack should face a punishment for the damages he caused. In response, the university suspended Jack for half of the next basketball season. This suspension wasn't going to affect his future if he waited it out, but Jack took it personally and felt as if the university wronged him. According to Jack's roommate Paul Brandt, he feels that this is when Jack's villain story started, as Jack believed that he no longer owed anything to the university. So, Jack reached out to his former high school classmate and well-known bookie, Jack Hacken, and the two formed a partnership to rig the outcomes of Columbia's basketball games, and they began to place bets on his own team. His play would depend on how he bet. If he picked Columbia to win, he'd play his heart out. But if he bet against them, he'd deliberately make bad passes or commit mistakes to throw the game. You have to realize in that era, stats like turnovers weren't tracked. So on paper, it would look like a good game for Jack, when in reality, he was the reason the team would lose. Despite Jack improving his stats over the next 2 years, Columbia didn't make a March Madness appearance after making the dance in his first season. After 3 years at Columbia, Jack declared for the 1953 NBA draft. Molinas was drafted 4th overall in the draft by the Fort Wayne Pistons. In the year before drafting Molinas, the Pistons were 1 game away from winning the finals, and they saw Molinas as the missing piece to their championship. But Jack couldn't resist the gambling, especially with the smaller NBA salaries at the time. The average player made between $4,000 and $5,000 a season then, which is about $50,000 in today's dollars after accounting for inflation. Meanwhile, Jack reportedly made up to $50,000 a week fixing games, which would be around $500,000 in today's money. There was a huge amount of money to be made in fixing games in the pros, and Jack wanted to be a part of it. 32 games into Jack's rookie year, he was voted an All-Star and seemingly had the Rookie of the Year award locked up. Despite this, the Pistons, who once again were 1 game away from making the finals in the previous season, were under 500. On top of this, word of Molinas' gambling quickly spread through the New York betting circles and eventually reached the NBA commissioner, Maurice Podoloff. Things seemed fishy to the commissioner, so he called Jack to his office for a meeting. During this meeting, Molinas did admit to gambling, but claimed he only made small bets on the Pistons to win. This outraged the league, and Molinas was immediately suspended from the league for life. Jack publicly argued that he was made a scapegoat for the league and claimed that many other players gambled too. He filed a $3 million lawsuit against the NBA, and this all turned into a big media frenzy. Remember, back then the NBA didn't have the loyalty of lifelong fans since the league was just beginning to gain traction. Although the lawsuit from Jack was rejected in court, the scandal posed a huge threat to the league's integrity if fans believed games were being thrown by players to win bets. This one claim by Jack, that players were gambling on games, could have ended the promising young basketball league, and it probably should have if it weren't for Bill Russell and Wilt Chamberlain, who were drafted a few years after the scandal. These two men single-handedly took all the attention away from the gambling and fixed all the damages that Jack had caused. And if it weren't for them, who knows what would have happened to the NBA. But our story with Jack doesn't end there. He played in lesser leagues for 8 years after his suspension while earning his law degree. He eventually opened his own practice in 1957, and many saw him as a changed man. He even applied for reinstatement to the NBA, but this was denied. While things looked better on the surface for him, behind the scenes the worst was yet to come.
Oh no!
From 1957 to 1961, Molinas was the mastermind to a massive point-shaving scandal in college basketball called the NCAA's 1961 point-shaving scandal. Molinas and his partner Jack Hacken, from earlier, bribed 37 players from 22 different schools to shave points and throw games that they bet on. He lured players with cash and promises of certain services. One of the players involved in the scandal was Connie Hawkins, an NBA Hall of Famer. Hawkins never actually participated in rigging any games, having only accepted $250 from Molinas as a freshman before he was eligible to play varsity. Nonetheless, he was expelled from Iowa and the NBA banned him. Hawkins played for the Harlem Globetrotters for a while and also played for the ABA and became the first ever MVP of the ABA. Only in 1970 did he manage to sue the NBA and get the ban overturned when it was clear there was no evidence against him. Although he was able to eventually play in the NBA, the ordeal cost Hawkins his prime NBA years. Molinas didn't just fix college games either. He also rigged boxing matches and once even drugged a fighter to ensure his opponent would win. In 1962, Molinas and Hacken discovered that investigators had tapped their phones to learn which games were fixed so they could profit themselves. The two set up a ruse, saying a game was fixed one way over the phone when in reality it wasn't. An investigator allegedly took the bait and lost $8,000. This same investigator vowed for revenge on the two. Using a wire worn by a player named Billy Reed, investigators recorded Molinas telling Reed to not say anything to investigators about the money Reed had received to fix games. After this, Molinas and Hacken were arrested and sentenced to 10 to 15 years in prison. While incarcerated, Jack became friendly with prison officials, helping them with their finances. Although the guards thought very highly of Jack, on the inside, he continued with his gambling ways, acting as a bookie for the prison. Now, Jack had to get creative about this to make sure he didn't get caught while also getting up-to-date information. So, he used a messenger pigeon to communicate with someone on the outside who would send the bird back to Jack's cell with information about sporting events. Still, the guards were none the wiser, and Jack was allowed to go on parole in 1968 after serving just 5 years behind bars. In 1973, Jack was briefly arrested for interstate shipment of corn, but was shortly released after posting bail. Then, in November of 1974, one of Molinas' business partners, Bernard Gusoff, was found beaten to death in his apartment. The murder was never solved. Suspiciously, Molinas collected $500,000 from a life insurance policy he and Gusoff had taken out on each other since they were business partners. Although it was never proven, many suspected that Molinas played a role in Gusoff's death to cash in on the life insurance money. Molinas' own life came to a violent end less than a year later. At around 2 a.m. on August 3, 1975, Molinas was shot multiple times in the back while in the yard of his luxurious Los Angeles home. He was with his girlfriend at the time, and she was also wounded. The gunman was identified as Eugene Connor, but he never revealed his motive. Theories ranged from revenge for Gusoff's murder to a mob hit. Whatever the reason, just like that, the man who almost destroyed the NBA and caused havoc everywhere he went was dead at the age of 43. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. There are more videos like this on the way, so subscribe to stay up to date.